and get started. Welcome everyone to the first monthly SWAAC webinar of the new school year. We hope you are all off to a great start. Every year we do this Get to Know the AT Loan Library webinar. So whether you are new to using the library or just here for a refresher, we're glad you're here. If you need captions for this webinar, be sure to click the little CC button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you can enable those. And then if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put those in the chat, and our whole SWAAC team is here to help answer those questions today. Awesome. And we are your loan library administrators. I'm Ashley Barker. I primarily work with the EI side of the loan library, and we'll be referring to both SWAAC and EI in our webinar today. Also on with us is Edwina Anand. She is the administrator for our SWAAC side of the loan library, and then Brenda will be presenting with me as well. Brenda Ortega also helps with the SWAAC side of the loan library. So these are our learning objectives. You completed this pre-assessment in your registration. So just a quick overview, you will be able to state 3 purposes of the loan library, state 3 different types of assistive technology or resources found in the library, and be able to describe how to access and use the library by the end of our session today. Then our agenda will include an introduction and overview of the library, how to get started, how to use the library, what happens after your hold is placed, and how to return equipment. And I will hand it off to Brenda.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brenda, as Ashley mentioned, and I do all of the SWAAC loans alongside Edwina. So to get started, we'll do a quick overview of the loan library. All right. So the AT Loan Library, it is primarily funded by the Colorado Department of Education. And what it does is it provides equipment to students and AT professionals in schools throughout the state of Colorado. Additionally, we also have the Early Intervention Colorado program, and this program contributes to the purchase of AT equipment for children birth to age 3. The Colorado State Assistive Technology Loan Library, it's a great resource for children who are receiving Part B and Part C services. Through the loan library, they are able to trial and determine whether a device or technology is best fit for a student who has a disability. Please, it is important to note that only children who are receiving Part B and Part C services are eligible to use the loan library. If you have any questions regarding who can use the loan library, again, you can always ask us and we'll be happy to answer. Okay. The loan library does have over 2,000 AT devices, and these devices range from low to high tech. A couple of the categories include AAC devices, books and resources, digital books and activities, switches, mounts, just to name a few. Here's a list of what we have in the library. And where can you see all of the items that we have? So to see all of the items, you will go over to our Alexandria Loan Library catalog. And here's just a quick screen grab of what that looks like. And what you can find here in the library or in the catalog is all of the items that are available in our library. Who can see this is anybody, and this includes teachers, parents, or anybody in the public. They are who can see the catalog. If you are seeing the catalog and you want something from it, you will need to reach out to one of the SWAAC coordinators or your EI consultant. Keep in mind that only team coordinators and AT consultants are able to place holds on those items. EI consultants and SWAAC team members are who can request, borrow, share, and distribute equipment to infants, toddlers, students, and students in K through 12. And you can find a link to this online catalog on the SWAAC or Tech for Tykes website. The purpose of the loan library. So the purpose of the loan library is to be used for evaluation and trial purposes. In doing so, third-party financiers, school districts, or parents can or whoever is purchasing the AT equipment can make informed decisions on whether the device or technology is a good match for the student or individual who will be using it. Also, increased interaction with AT equipment is really helpful for SWAAC team members and EI consultants, as it helps them become more proficient and knowledgeable on AT devices. This way, it better helps them serve the students that they are working with. Keep in mind that the loans are used for short-term and are not intended to be used for long-term purposes. And then, although the loan library does offer a wide variety of AT equipment, it is a challenge sometimes to maintain a loan library with state-of-the-art technologies, as there's always new technologies coming up, and sometimes technologies do become obsolete. And then some of our equipment does require regular maintenance and repair. And the loan library does provide equipment to hundreds of children each year. And sometimes there is a wait list for popular items, but this isn't to discourage you from placing holds on those items. We always encourage to place holds even if there is a wait list. And we encourage active use of the loan library and welcome your feedback. This helps us make improvements to our loan library and helps us better come up with how to benefit those who need it the most. So yeah, if you ever come across any new technology that you'd like to suggest for us, go ahead and reach out to us and we'll be happy to look at it and see if it's a good fit for our library.
All right, so next we'll talk about getting started with requesting a loan. So before you're able to start requesting loans, all loan library borrowers are required to review and sign either the SWAAAC team agreement and loan library policies, or for early intervention, a very similar document, the loan library policies and procedures. And so again, for either program, we do need this document read and signed before getting started. And for SWAAC, you'll include yourself or whoever is the team coordinator. Delegates can also be assigned, especially for larger school districts. It might be helpful to have more than one person who can request loans for the district, and as well as the special education director. And then for early intervention, we need signatures from the AT consultant and their CCB manager. And obviously, we're not expecting you to memorize all of the policies, but please keep in mind your general responsibilities as a borrower, and we'll go through those on the next slides. So as a borrower, we want you to think about your own responsibility for the equipment. And when others are borrowing through you, please consider who you are borrowing equipment for and how you might keep track of equipment who might be passed along to different professionals. Be sure you're communicating due dates with everyone involved, and be sure to keep in mind how and where the equipment will be returned, whether it's to you or to our office directly or through the courier. And then also keep in mind the educators, families, and children you work with. Please ensure that there is adequate supervision and support for a student trialing, say, a communication device that's worth thousands of dollars. Also, we want you to think about taking care of the equipment and all of the contents as if the device is your own. Our items that have a lot of different pieces will come with a contents list, and we always ask that you review that all contents are there when you receive the item and when you return it. And again, we really ask that you do your best to return equipment on time. This allows for us to continue circulating items so that no one has to wait too long to get something. Again, be sure all contents are included. And then please always communicate any problems you find with a device so that we can do our best to reconcile those issues as quickly as possible to get that back into the hands of the next person. And so again, before taking out loans this year, please take a moment to review those specific policies and procedures, and that link is in your handout. All right, so once you have become an approved loan library borrower and signed and returned your appropriate policies document, you'll receive an email with your login and password to our online catalog. And that online catalog is often referred to as Alexandria. That's just the library software we use. And speaking of SWAAC teams that might have more than one team coordinator or more than one delegate, for those in our school districts, please make sure you review your district's membership. And please add any educators who are involved in your team. We want anybody who might be interacting with the equipment and the student to be a part of that team and have access to the resources that we're providing. Anytime you need to add or remove a member of the team, please just send us an email and we'll get that taken care of. So if you are further away from the Denver metro area, you might consider using the courier service in order to receive and send back items. So before requesting any equipment through our online catalog, Alexandria, you'll need to verify where you're going to receive the equipment. And Michelle, I'll come back to your question in just a moment. Thanks for sending that in. So again, if you're outside the metro area, you may want to use the courier in order to find a library closer to you that you can use as a stop to send and receive items. If you are in the metro area, you might prefer to come just directly to our office in order to pick up items. That will save you some time. It typically takes up to a week for items to be sent through the courier. So if you want to utilize an extra few days, we recommend just coming straight to our office for pickups. Our hours of operation at the office, it's downtown Denver on the Auraria campus. We're open usually 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, exclusion of holidays. We do ask that you always make an appointment with us. To make an appointment for pickup, just send an email to your loan library administrator with a time and day that you'd like to pick up, and we'll just confirm that somebody will be available to let you in at that time. Then next we'll go on to the process of setting up a courier stop if you'd like to go that route. And then a quick note, Michelle, go ahead and shoot one of us an email and then we'll send you the list we have for your district. All right, so back to the courier. We have a paid partnership with the Colorado Library Consortium, which connects libraries throughout the state. So many school districts and public libraries are already a part of this system, and you can visit their website to review the list of participating libraries. There are instructions here on how to do so. Please keep in mind, we must make arrangements with your courier site. So make sure you communicate the types of items, which would be boxes of equipment that they'll be receiving, and then contact us specifically if you need more guidance on this procedure. We'll be the ones to reach out to the library to ensure that we can use their services. And then if your district or organization happens to not be currently a member of the Colorado Library Consortium, again, please contact us to discuss your options, and we can usually give you instructions for how to set up a stop. And again, if you do choose to set up your own courier stop at your school or CCB, there is also a possibility to just set up a community stop at an existing location, for example, a community college or a public library. And for cost on this, you can visit the website. But again, always check with us first because there might be one already established that we can use without any cost. All right, and I'll hand it back to Brenda.
Okay, so now that we've gone over how to get started, we'll go over how to use the AT Loan Library. But before doing so, we do need to ask ourselves a couple questions. First question is, have you received, signed, and returned the SWAAAC team agreement or the loan library policies and procedures for EI? 2, did you receive your login information? And 3, have you made arrangements to either pick up equipment at the SWAAAC office or participate in the courier service? If you have answered yes to all 3 of these questions, then you are ready to start using the AT equipment from the library. And to do so, you will go over to our website and then hover over to the Loan Library tab. Then you will select this SWAAAC Loan Library online catalog. Once you select that, it'll take you over to our Alexandria website. And then from there, the homepage looks something like this. You will see all of these icons, and I'll go over them real quickly. This first icon here is to search for items, and you will use this icon also to place holds for items. Keep in mind that you do need to be logged on in order to place holds. The second icon is the Scout, which is another search function. This third one is the Explore icon, and here you can search items based off their categories. The Bulletin icon is where you can go to see announcements. And then the Item Request Survey, which is a very important icon, as you will need to complete one of these surveys in order to borrow an item. Okay. The Your Item Due Dates icon, here is where you go to get some account information. Okay, the New Item slideshow, you will select that and you will see what new items have been added to the library recently. And then this last icon, it will take you over to a survey where you could request assistance with searching for an item. All right. And to search for an item, you will select that magnify glass and it'll take you over to this search page. On this page, you can also log on here. Remember, you need to log on to place holds. So to search for an item, you will fill in this search field here. Once that search field has been entered, you will get this, which will pull up some results for you. There's these icons here, and we'll go over what those icons do. So here you can filter out your search results. We suggest filtering them out by genre and medium. That way you get better results so you can find what you are looking for. This green arrow is pointing over to the hold button, and that is the button you will press in order to place a hold on an item. And just another reminder, make sure you are logged on to do so, because if you're not, you won't be able to place a hold. Okay, this blue arrow is pointing over to an icon where you can add items to a wish list. After items have been added here, you can go ahead and print that wish list. And then this icon here, the purple one, is where you can get a link to share the item. You can share it with your teammates to see if it's an item they might be interested in. And then this drop-down button will go over, show more information of the item you're looking at. If you select it, it'll look something like this. So after you hit this button, you'll get some more information on the item that you are looking at. Here you can find details where that green arrow is pointing, and then on the copy side, you can see if there are any copies that are available. And then once you have placed an item on hold, you can go over here to the left corner, and then it'll take you back to the home page where you can go back to the research, or sorry, yeah, you can go over to where you can fill out the survey that needs to be completed. Right. And then let's go over the Scout icon. So the Scout icon is also another search tool, but here you can't place holds on items. You can see whether items are available, but you cannot place holds. So if you do need to place a hold, you will need to go over to the researcher side. Okay, the Explore feature is also another search tool, but here it will categorize all of the items. And I highly recommend going over this if you're trying to familiarize yourself with the library. It's a really good tool just to go over what we do have in the library. So it's a really good starting point. Okay, and then this assisted search icon, it's great if you ever need assistance finding a device that might work for you or you're just not sure exactly what you're looking for. It'll take you over to this survey here that's on the screen. So what it does, it'll ask a couple questions of the user that you're working with and the kind of accommodations you're seeking. After you submit this survey, it'll go over to one of our team members and they will provide you some options that are available in our library that could possibly meet your needs. It is important to note that this is not an evaluation and we do not suggest for it to be used as such. It's really just like a recommendation or a suggestion. All right, and then the item due dates logo, it will take you over to a page that looks like this. Here you can see what items you have checked out, their due dates, items you have holds on, um, or you can also change your password here. If you ever have any issues logging onto your account, feel free to reach out to myself or one of the other admins, and we can work on resolving that issue. But this is a oh, great page to know where it's at, so then you can know your due dates and that kind of stuff.
So after you've placed your hold on Alexandria, the online catalog, we'll go through what happens next. So here are the steps for checking out items. You'll start with searching for your desired item. And then either the team coordinator or the AT consultant will place the hold on that item. And then that team coordinator or AT consultant will then complete the item request survey for each item that is placed on hold, whether or not it's immediately available, even if you're on the wait list for something. It helps the process go along quicker if you just go ahead and have that survey done as well. And then once you've done both of those steps, you'll receive confirmation once the item has been sent or is ready for pickup at the office. And please note, we cannot send out items until that item request survey has been completed. That is how we collect all of our data for the state, which is how we get funding for the library. So although it may seem tedious, it is really important so that we can keep this process ongoing. And when looking for items, if you are not seeing what you need, please let us know. We are always looking for new items to include in the library. And if something isn't available, again, please still go ahead and place that hold. If we're noticing something has a wait list that's getting long, that will inform our purchasing decisions and help us to decide whether or not it's worth it to purchase an additional copy of something.
Hey,
So again,
Ashley,
yeah, go ahead, Chris.
do you mind if I just jump in real quick?
Yeah, of course.
I always kind of like to tell people that our equipment library is a bit of a square peg. We are using library software that is typically used in school libraries. And so while we work really hard to try and make sure that we have search terms and keywords put into all of the listings, it doesn't always work. So it's possible at any time that you might be searching for something, it's not pulling up, you can't find it, but it's there. We just haven't actually tagged it quite right in terms of how you're searching. And so, again, it's very possible that something is in there and we just haven't hit on it in the search. So, again, if you're not finding what you're looking for, please don't hesitate to reach out to us because either it's something that should be in there and we should make a purchase, or maybe it's there and we just haven't hit on it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thanks,
Ashley.
Chris. So again, another reminder, once you've placed that hold, please also fill out that item request survey, and you can access it easily on this, the catalog homepage. The little scroll icon will take you to that survey. And again, we're not allowed to send out those items until that survey is complete. And then, yep, sorry, I already covered that. And that's the icon where you can click on it. So loan library items are checked out for 6-week trials. This will allow for 1 week of transit time. Again, if it's being sent through the courier, it should arrive within 1 week, which will give you 4 weeks to use, and then 1 more week to send it back. So again, if you are picking it up from the office, you might have a bit more of that time to trial. And we try to keep in really close communication with our borrowers who are using the courier to track when things arrive. And we are trying to stay on top of if anything is not arriving in 1 week, letting our partners at the courier know. And we've really developed a close relationship the past year. working hard to make sure things are getting to you in a timely manner. So if you ever notice something isn't arriving as quickly as it should, please let us know, and we'll be sure to rectify that as well. If you would like to renew equipment, please contact us with those requests. So if an item is not waitlisted, we may extend or renew that trial for another 3 weeks. And if you are having success with a loan, we are always collecting success stories. So we will likely reach out to ask for a short blurb and a snapshot of that item in use if you're asking for an extension. Again, that's something that really supports our funding when we submit that as data to the state. And if a child or student needs the equipment for long-term use, in order to achieve outcomes or to ensure that FAPE, it's important to do everything possible to procure the equipment. Again, these really aren't meant for long-term loans. They're meant to be short-term trials to determine whether something is worth going through that procurement process. And a note here at the bottom, CIDE offers a free database service to assist individuals with procuring AT devices and services. We have both the ATExchange or AT funding sources, so be sure to check out those links in your handouts. Those are two really helpful resources. So in an effort to keep borrowers informed about the status of popular items, we send out a monthly waitlist email to all SWAAC or to all of our EIAT consultants. And this email will provide a list of overdue items, current borrowers, their due dates, and people on the wait list. The reason we do this and the reason we ask that you review these emails are that this can help borrowers determine when a device might become available if they are on the wait list. This is also a bit of accountability to help everybody return their equipment on time, keeping in mind that it will affect other people if it's not. And it again might indicate which items are currently in high demand, which again helps us with our purchasing decisions and may influence what you are interested in borrowing as well.
Right. Finally, returning equipment. So once you have completed your trial, you will be returning equipment. So it is important to consider the following questions when you are returning equipment. Those questions are, will the item arrive at the SWAAC office by the due date? If for any reason you think the device might not make it back to us on time, just communicate with us and let us know. That way we're not bothering you and trying to figure out where the device is. And is the item clean and wrapped carefully to prevent damage during transport? As we mentioned earlier in this presentation, we have hundreds of students that borrow these devices, so it's important that we maintain them clean and working properly, so that and that they're not broken during transportation. Are all contents included in the box? Sometimes there's some devices that have chargers or accessories, so just make sure that all of those contents are in the box. And is a note included to communicate damage or broken equipment? Please be sure to write down anything that might be wrong with the equipment. This lets us know that we should pull the device out of circulation and just troubleshoot it and make sure it is okay, or if we need to send it out for repairs. And lastly, and most importantly, I feel, has all protected health information been cleared from a device? So just be sure to delete all photos, videos, accounts, or any other student information that might have been saved on the device when you were using it. This is just to protect all student information, and it's super important. Okay, so once you've asked yourself those questions and made sure those were taken care of, you can go ahead and return the equipment. Okay, once equipment has been returned and checked back into the library, you will receive a follow-up survey from us. And just remember that on the agreement that you do sign, it is mentioned that it is required for you to complete this follow-up survey. This helps us secure continued funding for the loan library, and it's required for us to collect information of every single loan that is completed. And of course, we greatly appreciate it when you complete these surveys. And these surveys also let us know what equipment is working good and it just gives us a better idea of what we should purchase or just keep an eye out for. Right. And if you ever have questions after you started using the AT Loan Library, we do have a Loan Library FAQ page, and you can find that on the SWAAC and Tech for Tykes page. We encourage participation of our library. If you ever experience any problems or have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to somebody from the SWAAC team, and we are happy to help. Here you can find our emails as well as our office phone number if you ever need to give us a call. And then here's just a post assessment. You'll be receiving this in a follow-up email that will be going out after the presentation. All right, well, thank you so much for your time. Right now would be a good time if you have any questions or anything you'd like to mention. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie McAlpine with Early Intervention, Imagine, the local early intervention program in Boulder and Broomfield. And as a service coordinator, I don't know, I see one of my coworkers on here, but I don't know if any other service coordinators are on here, how you guys might go about searching. We use an EI data system called Salesforce, and that's where all of you that are service or providers are listed in there. And now I'm wondering if I can search. Ashley, do you know that I can search who is an AT provider in that system? Do you know?
I'm not aware if you could find that in Salesforce, but if you just shoot me an email, we could provide you some information about an AT consultant you might get connected with.
Okay, that would be great. And then my second question is a kind of weird one. I don't work in the office anymore, but my little cubicle is the current storage of many like K-walkers and I think a tricycle strider kind of thing, equipment that I'm just thinking probably would do somebody so much better. Do you guys ever go around to the local early intervention programs to pick up equipment? Maybe if you're missing equipment to find it. I don't know if that's a possibility or if the courier could do that.
Yeah, great question. We typically don't travel ourselves to go pick up equipment, but we can use the courier to send things back and forth if that's an option. So yeah, that would be another great thing to shoot me an email about, and I can talk to
Okay, right,
Krista.
because there's there's a lot of parents who, you know, their children outgrow the equipment, and then they're like, hey, Imagine was our, you know, early intervention program, so let's just drop it off at Imagine so somebody else can use it. But yeah,
and there are certain rules based on how the item was funded, how it can be used in the future. So there are some things we'll have to look into, but yeah, that would be great to get some information about.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, I could jump in here real quick and just mention the ATExchange. So if you have equipment that is assistive technology that you are looking to get rid of, that you don't need or want anymore, you have the option of going onto the side website, and there's an exchange there where you could list equipment that someone else might benefit from.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Thanks. And I do know, I think anything that's been funded by EI Colorado, it has to stay in EI Colorado. So there might be a few things that are a little more limited of where it could go. But again, we can look into that.
That's a great point, Ashley. I know the same is true for Part B. So if public school funds paid for equipment, I think the rule is then that it has to go to another public school.
This is Maureen. I just put the link for ATExchange before Ashley's email. There's a link. It's very long, but if you want to go straight to that place on our website, it's also a great place to look for items you might need for a child. They're posted by families, by usually, again, because we can't post things that were paid with state funds. So they're not usually things from SWAAAC or EI directly, but other resources, insurance companies and so forth. And if you just search the listings, if you just hit search, you'll see them all. And we right now, I think we have about 50 items up there. Some are free, some have a low cost associated with them, depending on who posted it and what they might like to get in return. So if you're working with adults too, there's things there for that, and it continually changes.
Thank you, Maureen. Kate F asked if we have any technicians that know how to wipe personal information from devices. As of now, we're still kind of trying to figure out exactly how to do that, but the way that we're doing it is we'll go into our gallery, our devices galleries, or just any apps that have been used, and we'll just make sure everything's logged off and just kind of manually going through all of the apps that are on there and deleting those ourselves. And we also try to take a look at devices that we get returned to, like just a second pair of eyes, and make sure that gets deleted.
You know, I thought I might just jump in and mention too some of the immediately available downloadable resources that are available to everybody, anybody. If you go on to Andrea and search through the digital books and activities, there's all kinds of materials there. The literacy kits that are available for loan, if you are, not going to necessarily borrow a kit, but want all the great ideas that come kind of in the form of a lesson plan, those are downloadable from Alexandria. We also have some protocols, things like the modified bridge protocol or the quad profile. These are all great tools that anybody can jump on Alexandria and pull down. The books, the adapted books, electronic digital adapted books, the only thing that's required there is that you fill out a survey and attest to the fact that you actually own a hard copy of the book. That, in terms of copyright law, makes you eligible then for an adapted version.
I do have one more question, Ashley. How are providers? And imagine, I know you're going to send me a list. I feel like we have a very low percentage of our providers that actually participate in the lending library. And so I'm wondering, how do we recruit?
Yeah, great question. We do have a training to become an AT consultant. It should take about 4 hours, and it goes through just an overview of assistive technology and different uses for it. And I think we encourage that you don't have to be an AT expert to be an AT consultant. We just need people who are willing to learn and try, and we have a lot of resources we can provide to support them along the way.
And you said it takes 4 hours?
Yeah, it's self-paced, but it should really only take about 4 hours to complete.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Nicole, I think you have your hand raised.
Thank you. When we were talking about sign-ins and, wiping off personal data and things like that, it just kind of sparked a question that came up yesterday. I have recently gotten a loan for an iPad that we were going to use for different reasons, kind of trying it out. And I thought that all the AAC apps were loaded on all of the iPads, but there was one specific one I was looking for and I couldn't find it. And then I just did a quick search, and so just to say, well, maybe they don't have it, but you do. So two-part question: how do we get apps that should be maybe on the iPad loaded if I already have the device and I don't really want to send it back, if that's possible? And then the other thing is that some of the apps required a sign-in, and I don't I don't know how to even get the sign-in information.
So the first part of your question, you will just send me an email. I can push an app out to the iPad if you already have it.
Okay.
We'll just make sure that the device is connected to Wi-Fi, and then I'll work with you to get that app on there. But yes, all iPads should have all of the apps that are listed on our Alexandria website.
Okay. All right. And I guess I could do a search. Maybe it's like somebody put it somewhere weird and I didn't see it. I haven't, like you can search. I haven't done that yet, but just by looking, because you guys have them really organized with all the different areas, and I just didn't see it.
Yeah, so just let me know if it's not on there and I'll work on pushing that app out.
Thank you. And I see them tomorrow at 12:30. Is there a chance that we could do that before then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a note to check in with you early tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I think I might be able to answer the second half of her question.
Okay.
There are some AAC apps that are actually cloud-based. They don't actually live on the iPad. I'm wondering if that isn't one of the apps that, so what's actually on the iPad is kind of a shell of the app,
Okay.
and you actually then have to have your own account. And so then you log in and you're accessing cloud content. Is that possibly what was going on?
Maybe. I mean, it just seemed like it was an app that was on there, but it was not accessible like to the common user. Like
Do you
for trial. I
remember?
just kind of felt like it was not really available. So
So if that happens, we want you to have what you need. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. Give us a call, send us a quick email, and we'll get to the work of problem solving what's going on.
okay. I think what I really want is what I'll work on with Brenda, because I think it's pretty simple, and some of them are really complex for EI. I'm an EI provider. Like they can just be beyond, or not yet for our clients. But the one I was wanting to kind of get to work, couldn't find it. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Kate, I see your question in the chat. It is probably a mixture of both, just depending on the situation. But she was asking, do providers, therapists, or teachers use the device with the child? Is the device left with the family, or a mixture of the two? It also depends if you're SWAAC or EI. If you're EI, typically, once the provider has introduced and demonstrated with the device and feels like the family is ready to provide that supervision and support, they'll leave the device with the child. But again, it's kind of up to the AT consultant or SWAAC member to determine when that feels responsible for the device to be left without your supervision. And then again, our SWAAC team members will usually use the device at school with the child. Chris, feel free to chime in on that question if I didn't hit everything.
No, I think you got it.
Looking in the chat to see if there are any other questions we've missed. Feel free to unmute if you have anything else as well.
I just want to unmute and say thank you, Danielle. I knew you looked familiar. I'm like, my brain at the end of the day. She is an AT consultant with Imagine. So thank you so much. It's just not the person that I want to be the AT consultant that's with the client of this child, but that's okay. We'll work with you, Danielle, and get something going.
Danielle's great. You'll be in good hands.
Yes.
Karen, the process for becoming an AT consultant, if you send me an email, I can start walking you through that more specifically, but a quick overview would be to first get in contact with your CCB manager or managers if you're contracted with multiple, and each CCB kind of has their own process and expectations, so you'll start with them to make sure everybody's on the same page with that, and then once we get approval from your CCB manager, we will send you an account to log into our training modules. And then once you complete those training modules, I'll give you access to the loan library. And again, our job is to be here to support the work that you're doing. So any questions or troubleshooting regarding items or the loan library process in general, please always don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are here to help. Nicole, go ahead.
This is a question I have mainly for my families because they may fill out your consent to photograph on, and then we turn it in. And I was trying to tell a parent, like you've been sending flyers for your conference, I think in September. And I said, I think this is maybe why they would use the photos, like this is an example. But I wondered, I think a little bit as a parent, like maybe you're curious to see if they get used. I didn't know if your website had sort of like, do you just pick and choose kind of what comes, or do you have like do you have a library of, or like a photo collage of kids using certain equipment that parents
Yeah,
use?
we have a page on Tech for Tykes with all of the success stories from the past year or two.
Okay.
So I'll send you a link in the chat.
And so that's everybody who has sent something in, or those are things that you just decide are the ones you want to highlight?
Yeah, it's everybody who we have consent from.
Okay.
And as years go on and it becomes really full, we'll probably just take off the oldest ones to keep it
Okay.
more
Yeah,
recent.
I appreciate that
But
link. Thank you.
yeah.
Just going to jump in and thank anyone who's shared with us a success story and sent in a photograph. Because the reality is that this loan library and a lot of the work that we do is, reliant on state and federal funding. And when we're able, and the people who appropriate that funding have big hearts. Like they're working in the disability world also. And every time we're able to include a little success story and a photograph in our reports, splattered here and there amongst, statistics and data that's a little dry, it really does go a long way. They really do like to see and read about the real life outcomes and the impact that it's all having. So thank you so much for sending that in.
Right, we'll stay on for a couple more minutes if anybody still has questions, but if not, thank you so much for attending. And be sure to keep an eye out for an email with that follow-up survey for this webinar.
You will also receive a certificate of attendance once you have completed those surveys on there. So yeah.
Right, thanks, team.